Hi, I'm Faster EFT practitioner Kim Brown. Glad you could join me today. And with us also today is Master Faster EFT practitioner Deirdre Maguire from Ireland. Welcome, Deirdre.
Hello, Kim. Thank you for having me today.
I'm so happy to have you. Deirdre, for those who may not understand, tell us exactly what you do.
Okay, well, I am a life coach, an author, speaker, and fast EFT practitioner, and a mind wellness specialist. I I help people get happier. I take them from where they are to where they want to be, and I did it for myself, and now I do it for others.
Wonderful. So do people look for you when they've exhausted all other routes?
Oh, definitely they do that. When their suffering has become too painful, that's when they come to me. I'm always the last call, And but basically, they may have different problems, but how they're coping with their problems is the same. And basically, it's avoidance behavior.
Mm.
And that can go from either end of the spectrum. That can go from full blown addictive drinking to total abstinence. It can go from overeating to dieting, obsessive dieting. It can go from either end of the spectrum. But the what's common with all of them is that they've reached their lowest point. When they come to me, they're at their lowest point. But what they don't know, that I do know, is that their lowest point is actually the turning point. Mm. That's when it all starts to change. And that when they do their work, if they do their work with me, that their whole life, the total trajectory of their life can completely change in that moment, even though it feels like it's really a very, very painful point. Does that make sense?
Yes, and I can testify to that. Having experience.
Definitely.
Yeah. So how do you get people to open their souls and their private thoughts to you?
Okay, well, here's the thing. This is the fundamental core of my work, especially in the first session, is that first of all, that they're safe. The client has to feel safe. And secondly, I think it's very important to know that they're no longer alone. That's the key. And so how do I do that? Well, I create a nice environment. They come here, right here where this is where they sit in this chair. They come to my kitchen when I'm at home in Ireland. And confidentiality is very, very important. And of course, then there's my professional expertise. I am an expert, and I always tell them that, not to impress them, but to impress upon them that I know what I'm doing, that they are in safe hands. And so by doing that, I create really good rapport. And then there's also like the focused listening. I'm listening very, very intently. And I tell them that. Before we begin, I say that I'm going to be listening very intently to what you're saying. I take a lot of notes, and simple things like good eye contact. I use a lot of other things as well. But I think the key, Kim, is what I call unconditional positive regard. And by that I mean there is no judgment. No judgment. What they're being their own judge. They're the ones that they're being so hard on themselves. So it's so important. Like recently I've been working with a client, and we're working with alcohol issues, and his best coping skill at the minute is problem drinking. And so he's coming for sessions, and he is currently still drinking. So you would imagine that you would say, well, no, you shouldn't be drinking. But if I say that to him, then I'm in judgment of him. Right. So for me, the idea that he is turning up is enough. He's enough. The part of him that wants to heal, the part of him that knows there is a better way, is there. So So there's no judgment, and actually what's happening is it's dropping. And it comes to my mind that I also have a bulimic, who's I'm working with at the minute. She's the same thing. She's still putting her fingers down her throat, less and less and less and less. So if I was being judgmental, I would say, no, we can't do this. But I have no judgment at all. And I think that's one of the parts of my business that helps me to be really good. I'm very good at what I do. And I think that's one of the key components of it.
Yes, that's huge.
Yeah. Yes, massive. Yeah.
So is it always beneficial to take someone back to a point of crisis, or might that revive the original trauma or agony?
Oh, that is a very good question. Well, you know this, and I'll just say it out, that what we say in our personal development world, memories buried alive never die. So the key is that the crisis point, the agony that they're in, is actually driving their whole lives.
Mm.
So what I do is, or what we do as practitioners, we take them safely. That's why the safety is so important.
Right.
We create the safe environment, and they may not get there maybe till the third or fourth session sometimes, where they really, really open up, and they know, the unconscious mind knows that it's safe, and then they will open up, and then we can safely, it's kind of like I take their hand. Metaphorically, I take by the hand back there. They don't have to go alone. This is where you're no longer alone comes in. Let's go back there, and we just look at it, and we release the emotions attached to it, because, memories are recorded information,
right,
from a distorted point of view. Okay, so say we use the example of getting bullied in the primary school yard. You call it grade school. So getting bullied, then, well, that memory is recorded from a distorted point of view. It's recorded from the 5-year-old, the 6-year-old, looking up at the adult or whatever. So what we're doing is we're bringing it back to balance by letting go of the distortion of the old memory. And but the key, in answer to your question, the key to it is safety. We have many ways of doing that, of going back in a safe way, so that it's okay to release the emotions that are attached, and then the crisis is no longer the crisis. It's not there anymore.
Good point.
Does that answer the question?
Yes. So in light of that, what do you say to cynics who believe you prey on the vulnerable?
Okay, so, that's a very good question. So the first thing the way I would respond to that is that it always interests me. I kind of smile inside when someone says something like that to me. I'm observing what they're actually doing, because actually that can be a very sophisticated way for that person to hide their vulnerability. So if someone does come at me with that kind of thing, I would go very gently around them, because they're actually talking about themselves. And so the second response to that would be that we have so many testimonials. I look at the wealth of people whose lives have been transformed, so I can point to that and say, well, here we are. And of course, the third response to that is, I am my own proof. And I remember being so vulnerable. I remember that first time that I took action. And it was so frightening. I was so terrified, so scared, and I was so vulnerable. And it's right, I was vulnerable, but thank God, thank life, thank the universe, whoever it was, that there was someone there, just like me now, to help them to get through and change their lives. My life's transformed. So, yeah.
Mine as well. And you were part of that. So I thank you for being part of my healing.
Thank you, my love. Well, what I say to my clients always, I say this in my first session, this is always about exchange. It's always about exchange, So it's one of the key parts of my introductory session, where I will thank the client. I'll say, thank you for the privilege and the honor of working with you. And it really does throw them. because
Yeah.
that's not what they're expecting. And in that moment, there's a shift. And when I operate from that belief system, I remember when I discovered that, you know, that life is always about exchange, and that single point in my life, that aha moment, really did change my life. And I love that I live by that every day now. Mm.
Very good.
Mm.
So, what is the most satisfying thing you've achieved over the years?
Oh God, there's so many. They're just
I imagine.
I love my life so much. It's not without its challenges, but it's been okay. So, well, I have to say, for those of you who know my story, or those of you who don't know my story, part of my story has been in the past that my father took his own life. And he was 72, and he decided that it was time for him to leave the planet. And so I have to say that now I work with a lot of people who are suicidal, and I find it deeply moving. It is so gratifying to see and watch the change. And you know, if I reflect on the last 6 months of my life, right off the top of my head, I can think of 4 people who had actually attempted. You know, they'd, you know, thrown the rope up over, they had taken the pills, they had, you know, really actively attempted suicide. And then they came to me, and, you know, one of them, we were done in 2 sessions. We were done in 2 sessions. It was
Wonderful.
and so that is, you know, and one of them actually, it's a young man. He lives down the town, and you know, and I see him out in the street with his son, and you know, I get a bit emotional. It's a gorgeous feeling. It's a brilliant feeling. So the people who have been suicidal are definitely gratifying, growing and evolving, being a part of the team, and being in there at the beginning and evolving Faster EFT has been a huge part of my life. I, at one point on my journey, I had cancer, and I went to, as you know, you've been there yourself, you've had the experience this year of being in Habilitat.
Marvelous.
I was on the first team that went to Habilitat, and it was so profound for me. And when I did that the first session, one of the first sessions, I worked on a man called Robin, and it was hugely transformative for him. And so 6 months, fast forward 6 months later, and I go back to Habilitat. And in that 6 months interim period, I had been diagnosed with cancer, and it was, you know, one of the biggest experiences, if not the biggest experience of my life. And where I had decided that I would have surgery, but I would say no to chemotherapy and radiation. So in the saying no to chemo and radiation, I had actually said yes to me. And I qualify this by saying, you know, cancer is not about, I'm not talking about yes or no to chemo for others. I'm just talking about what was right for me.
Right.
And this was what was right for me. So then I go back to Habilitat, and in Hawaii, the drugs and alcohol rehab that we go to do voluntary work. And I was at a very low point, and but I knew that was what I needed to do. So I actually left Ireland, said goodbye to the chemo and radiation, and headed to Habilitat. And when I got there, Robin was one of the first people I met, and he knew nothing about what had happened in the interim 6 months. And he said to me, "Oh, hello, Deirdre. It's so good to see you. You know, you changed my life." And in that moment, I knew that he had changed mine. And that's when I knew it was always about exchange. This life is always, I was there when he needed me, and he was there when I needed him. And so that was huge. And one more time, when I was on my journey, what I call my cancer journey, and I was in Australia, and it was a big adventure. And I was very far from home, and I lived out of a suitcase for 8 months. And I worked on a man one day, and he had told me that he had been adopted, that he had been heterosexual and in a heterosexual marriage, and his pain had taken him to homosexuality. He had actually, he'd even swapped, his gender preferences and all. And in that session, it was so profound and so moving. And I remember it was the first time that I ever really slowly touched a client. When I was doing the tapping movement, and I just held my hand on his cheek, and he broke. The tears came, and I really felt as though I had the honor of reaching another soul. There was a connection, and I've never actually talked about this before. And yeah, it was so deeply moving, and we just sat there in the silence, and I knew that there was a shift in that person's life. And so I don't know if that answers your question. There are so many of them. There's so many stories that I have. And I need to write the book. That's another book.
Very good. I'll look forward to that one.
Yeah.
So are you seeing an increasing awareness of the services you offer, and as a result, more people are contacting you?
Yes, definitely. I am getting busier and busier and busier. This is what I see, that, like life is getting faster and faster in this, consumerism and digital age and everything else. But the quality of life is not reflected in the speed of life.
That's true.
It definitely isn't. And the quality of our life is dictated by the quality of our response to the world. And the quality of our response to the world is based on our ability to manage our emotions. And that's what I love about this modality, about what we do, is that it has certainly helped me to deal with to cope with my emotions, and that's what I want for others now. So I'm very busy. What do I do? Well, I do free talks. I'm doing one next week, and I'm doing more and more and more of them. And then that's kind of like a taster for people. It opens their eyes and wakens them up a bit. And then, like, I have my YouTube channel. I have my Wisdom of Ireland YouTube channel that people go to, and then of course I have the sessions, and I have my workshops, my webinars. And now what I have created now is a diamond package, where I love this, where people have long-term commitment. So like 25 hours of committed work over a 6-month period or whatever. And I'm finding really, really, because I am a life coach, as well as a mind wellness specialist. And I find it very important for me, and then for others, to find your direction. Where are you going? What do you want? What do you want your life to look like in a year's time, in 5 years' time? So I do a lot of that. And then, of course, I have my retreats. This is where people come here.
Oh, lovely.
Yeah, and they do one-on-one here in this. Absolutely. I'm tempted. I have to do this, Kim.
Please.
I just have to turn it,
That is so glorious.
Isn't it spectacular? It is so spectacular. And so people come here, stay at my house, and they have a private, bespoke, deeply transformative intensive. And I've been doing this for about a year now. And
wow.
Yeah, and I did a couples one there a few weeks ago, and that was so two people can come. So if they want to split the expense of it, and hugely, hugely transformative. So yeah, so it's all good. I'm very, very busy, and yeah, I really want to bring this work mainstream.
Yes.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Yeah.
So Deirdre, based on all you've shared with us today, what are your hopes and aspirations for the future?
Oh, well, more of the same. Well, here's what I see. I see myself as a team member. This is what I see, Kim. And I see that I am, on a global team of dedicated souls, who want to help transform the world. And to do that by raising awareness around this, by wakening up. I wakened up, and someone helped me to waken up, and now I'm awake, and I want to become more and more awake. What does that mean? It means that I am consciously aware of what I'm doing to myself, that I'm taking responsibility for my own life, and by taking charge of my emotions. And that's what I want people to have the experience of, put them in the driver's seat of their own lives.
Right.
And so I want to create, I want to be a part of the team, and I want to expand the team, and I want to make my own team. And over the last 6 months, I've been at home a lot in Ireland without traveling, and I really see the need here. And I feel it's a privilege and an honor to be able to work here, and to bring these incredible resources into mainstream. So I'm very, very excited about it. Yeah.
It's quite awesome to be able to touch someone else and see a transformation, and know that they will go out and touch the people in their world and see transformation there. That's huge.
And something, what you just brought to mind. I was apologies, I turned my phone off. I was speaking to my nephew the other day, and it's phenomenal. We were just chatting. We were sitting at the kitchen table, and I don't know what way the conversation went, but he revealed to me, and he said to me, "Do you remember the time that you remember the time I was having the panic attacks, and you came down to my business?" And quite honestly, I fully remember it. I wouldn't have had a conscious recollection of it, but when he said it, I went, "Oh yes, I vaguely remember it." And it absolutely changed the direction of his entire life. He is now, where he's going this week? He is Barber of the Year here. He's hugely successful.
Wow.
A massive following of young people. He's only 28, and he has a massive following of young people. His next journey is, I just saw it on Facebook the other day, he's going to China. He's going to China to do barbering. He's a barberer, but it's not the barbering that they love about him. He's doing podcasts. He shares his wisdom. He meditates. He's completely transformed. But I saw all this, but I didn't know that it was from that 20 minutes. He phoned me, and he was having panic attacks. And I said, "The next time you have one of those, phone me." And he did, and I went down, and we did 20 minutes. And he didn't even tap very much after. He says, "I don't do a lot of tapping with that thing." But you see, we don't even know.
That's right.
Yeah, and that's the great freedom. That singularly freed me up when I realized that we are working with the unconscious mind, not the conscious mind.
Mm-hmm.
You're trying to consciously work it out and figure it out, forget it. God knows we tried it. I definitely did. I thought if I could consciously work this out, then I could do it. That's not how it works. It's the unconscious mind, those hidden unconscious awarenesses that are very deep, that can change in a moment when we just look at life differently. Because here's the thing, Kim, this is what I tell my people, that the solution to every problem is the same. The solution to every problem is the same. How can I look at this differently?
Yes.
It's perception. When my father took his own life, how could I look at this differently? Today I can look at it differently. Instead of staying stuck in guilt and a misguided loyalty to sadness, I celebrate my father's life. I celebrate the gift he gave me. It's because of my father's death that you and I are sitting here.
Mm.
So was it a good thing or was it a bad thing? How can I look at the problem differently? The pain, the hurt, the sadness. And you don't have to do it immediately, but edge your way around till you can see the same situation from a different perspective, from an empowered perspective. And when you do that, your whole life changes. I know mine has.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah.
And speaking of changed lives, I believe you have a book
Oh my God.
full of changed lives. Is that not true?
I do. I have not one but two. I have not one. Here they are. I've forgotten about it, Kim. Thank you. So, okay. So this one is my on purpose planner, the definitive happy journal. And this is what I used for myself. I made a decision when I was at a crisis point in my life, which is a story for another day. But this is what I did. Every day I wrote things that I was grateful for. And it was very tough, but I wrote things that I was grateful for. And then, even more important than the attitude of gratitude, is the gratitude intention. Is what am I grateful for that's coming?
Ah.
Get excited. You see, assume the feeling of the wish fulfilled. Not I'll be happy when. That's the way I used to live. I'll be happy when the mortgage is paid, when I get the right job, when the weather changes, when the money comes, when the man comes, when the, I'll be happy when. It's called destination addiction.
Mm.
Yeah. And so when I discovered this, that if I get happy now, in the American accent, now, when I get happy now in this moment and excited for what's coming, then I attract it to me. So that's what this book is about. There are other things in it as well, and this is what my clients get when they come to me. And
oh, marvelous!
Yeah, it's amazing. And then this one, when I was at on the cancer journey, and I was in Hawaii in Habilitat, and I was very frightened. It's one thing to say no to chemo and radiation, and it's another thing to take consequences of change in your life. And I was in the library and I saw this book, and I asked Jeff Nash, the director there, if I could borrow the book, and he said yes. And they were stories about how people had turned their lives around. And I drip fed them to myself every night. I only allowed myself one story a night, and I would read these stories and I would think, oh my God, if they can do it, I can do it. Now this was along with my tapping.
Mm-hmm.
They can do it, I can do it. If they can do it. And it was kind of like I was holding on by the fingernails. And then I had the idea, what if I could give this to my clients, and if I had a book where I would give them a set of stories. So that's what this is. I created this book that it's called Ordinary People, Extraordinary Stories. And you, my good friend, your amazing story is in there. One of the many great stories. My own story, Jeff Nash's story, Robert Smith's story, lots and lots of stories of people who have turned their lives around. And this is the first edition. I want to have more clients creating more stories, because this is how it works.
That's right.
This is how it works. When we share and exchange, and if you can do it, I can do it.
Mm-hmm.
So, I've been in the deepest, darkest, sat right here in the deepest, darkest pain of cancer, terrified, thought I was dying. They told me, if you don't have chemo and radiation, you'll be dead in a year. This is a very aggressive cancer. That's what I was told. Now, this is not about, those people are doing the best they can. It's not about, but I knew differently. I knew there was a part of me that knew, not all of me. There was a part of me that knew there was a different way. And I tapped until I could move forward inch by inch by inch by inch. Then it's kind of like you gain momentum. You take the stabilizers off. Do you call them stabilizers? Those little bicycles, the bicycles that children have?
Training wheels.
Okay. So we call them stabilizers. There you go, translation. And so that's what all this is about. These are all things that help you. I have a lot of other different things that I use as well as the tapping to support people in moving forward. That's what I'm doing at the minute. I'm putting together, I'm consolidating a whole system, that will help people be supported and fast track them. And fast tracking doesn't mean, you do it in 2 minutes. But fast tracking means that you don't have to go through what I went through, what you went through. We know now how to fast track people.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what I'm doing. I'm currently consolidating everything I've learned from all the different parts of my life and putting it together into a system that can help people. So that's coming. That's coming soon.
Beautiful, beautiful.
Yeah.
So, Deirdre, is there anything you would like to say in closing today?
In closing, I would like to say, what I would like to say? I'll say it in Irish first. I'll say Gura Mila 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 Mahagat, which is Gaelic for thank you very, very, very much, Kim. Thank you for the opportunity to spend this time with you. As I say, time is a very precious currency, and I thank you for spending yours with me. And to anyone else who may be watching this, gratitude is all. I really do thank God, thank life, thank the intelligence behind life for every single present moment. That's why they call it the gift.
Yes.
Because it is the present moment. So you could go and make the dinner and come back, Kim, and I would still be talking here. You could go and raise 3 children and come back, and I would still be sitting here talking about this. So you do whatever you need to end this interview. Thank you.
And thank you very much for your time today and your wisdom.
Thank you, my love. Thank you. I'll talk to you again soon.
Okay. And Deirdre and I thank all of you for watching today. And remember, no matter what you've experienced in the past, today is a new day. See you next time.